Should we actually be worried about Kingda Ka? Because the rumors are only intensifying that this coaster will be removed in the near future, potentially as early as the end of 2024. We are going to be breaking down all of the latest rumors surrounding Kingda Ka to hopefully get a pretty good idea of if we should be worried about the future of Kingda Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure. We got a lot to discuss, so let's get started. Now, before we discuss Kingda Ka's fate, we should probably also talk about Green Lantern, because these two coaster removal rumors kind of go hand in hand. So Green Lantern is a B&M stand-up coaster that we have also gotten a lot of rumors that it is going to be removed. And at this point, it is all but confirmed that this coaster will no longer be a Great Adventure in 2025. And while it is never good to see a roller coaster go, I think for Great Adventure, this is honestly not a terrible decision. Green Lantern has already been relocated. It's a parking lot coaster. It's also an old school B&M stand-up coaster, so people are definitely going to find it uncomfortable. It's also low capacity. To be honest, it doesn't look very good either. Like, there are a ton of just stuff that's just not too great about this coaster. I mean, is it the worst coaster out there? Absolutely not. But I think that if Great Adventure had to lose a roller coaster, this was not a bad choice. And I'm sure it was something where Cedar Fair told Great Adventure Management that they needed to remove a coaster to help bring down operating costs, or a similar scenario to that, and I honestly think that removing Green Lantern is not the worst of ideas. This should hopefully mean that Great Adventure can put a nicer roller coaster in there, maybe some grass underneath if they're feeling crazy. But anyway, it's not great to see this coaster go, but hopefully we can get something better in its place. And if you are a big Green Lantern fan, then definitely ride this coaster while you still can. Oh, and by the way, if you want to stay up to date on all the latest theme park news and rumors across the industry, then a sub to the channel would be fantastic. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2024, and we are super close. Anyway, back to the video. So about a month or so, we started getting some rumors that Kingda Ka would be closing for good in the near future. Now, initially, I brushed these rumors off as just another rumor. I didn't think that this rumor really had any solid evidence backing it up. And besides that, when you kind of thought about it for a second, it made no sense. Why would Great Adventure remove one of their most popular attractions and the sole reason a lot of people come to Great Adventure? Initially thinking about this, I thought there was no way. And it just the rumor kind of popped out of nowhere with nothing super crazy happening to Kingda Ka beforehand that would cause them to want to remove this coaster. It just didn't make sense to me. So I covered this a couple theme park news updates back. I'm like, hey, I don't think this will be a problem, but here's a kind of a heads up. It could happen, but I don't think it will. And then nothing really happened for a couple weeks, but then these past 2 weeks, the rumors kind of came back. And now we're hearing from some legitimate sources that this coaster might not be around for even the next year. Coaster Studios, El Toro Ryan, multiple other creators were talking about the potential closure of this coaster. And I was still really skeptical about this rumor. And my thought was, you know what, I'm gonna hold off on making a video because I still don't think these rumors are actually going to come true. I really don't think this makes sense still. So I just waited to see if anything was going to develop. But still, the rumors kept coming. And more of them were starting to suggest that Kingda Ka could close as early as the end of 2024. Some even saying that this coaster is its closing might not even be an official press release. So this got me really thinking, should we actually be worried about the future of Kingda Ka? Or are these just more rumors? And I must say, I was very skeptical at first, but now I'm starting to think we really need to start taking these rumors seriously. So let's kind of break down why this could potentially make sense for Great Adventure, then I'll tell you what I really think will happen to Kingda Ka, when it will close, what could replace it, etc. So I think this could make sense for Great Adventure if they were willing to add something I'm talking a very major project, Giga Coaster level. It would need to be very good to not bring a serious amount of backlash to Great Adventure. We're talking potentially Theory 325 level. It would have to be something very good to replace such an iconic coaster. Or maybe something like a very major like LSM launch coaster, that could probably also work too, but you get the idea. It would need to be a very major, very iconic almost investment to really like fill the shoes of that one super marketable like coaster everyone knows about. And I think that's part of the problem with removing Kingda Ka is there are so many people who know Kingda Ka as the tallest roller coaster in the world. I mean, obviously Falcon's Flight's coming and it's going to be losing that title here in the next couple months or so. But there are still a ton of people who go to Six Flags Great Adventure just for Kingda Ka. Not many theme parks have a ride that good and that like iconic that draws so many people in that people specifically go for that one ride. I mean, obviously you have Cedar Point where people go for Millennium Force and they go for Steel Vengeance and Maverick and all of that. But take Kings Island for example, a top tier Six Flags park. And yes, we all know they need like a super good, well, they need their Kingda Ka almost, but still, nobody goes to Kings Island solely for Orion most of the time. That is like incredibly rare. And you know, there will definitely be people who come just for the Beast, but in general, you go to a theme park, or let's say Kings Island for, as our example, for the whole experience. I mean, obviously you'll have your highlight roller coasters and stuff, but you go for the cohesive experience, not just one single ride. Even at Cedar Point, you go for Maverick, Steel Vengeance, and Millennium Force all combined, not really just one. And in my opinion, I feel like it would be almost silly for Great Adventure to throw away that type of just like being such an iconic coaster for the park. Now obviously, it still does make sense in some aspects, because there is no doubt that Kingda Ka is an incredibly expensive roller coaster to maintain. We are talking millions upon millions of dollars in maintenance alone, not to mention the $25+ million they paid up front. This has no doubt cost Great Adventure a ton of money. And we've seen what Cedar Fair does with these expensive roller coasters to maintain. Think Vortex at Kings Island. Yes, it was still decently popular and was definitely an iconic coaster for Kings Island, but it just became too expensive to maintain. Arrow went out of business, replacement parts became hard and expensive to find, and Cedar Fair pulled the plug on it. And this is what I think they are trying to do to Kingda Ka. Because yes, they will save a lot of money by removing Kingda Ka. But then again, there will be definitely a lot of people who are upset with Great Adventure, no doubt. And I think this has got to be taken into account also, because there's going to be a pretty good amount of negative publicity around Great Adventure because of this ride removal, regardless of what they replace it with. I mean, yes, if they throw a Giga Coaster in 2 years after they remove this, I think all will be forgiven. But there will still be plenty of negative publicity. And I think another reason why Cedar Fair would want to remove this coaster, and why it does also make sense in some aspect, is because we don't really know how much longer this coaster will go without its next major incident. I mean, we all saw what happened to Top Thrill 2. Cedar Fair is probably worried that something like that could happen on this coaster. We know how unreliable and incident-prone these coasters are. It's definitely not out of the equation. I think all of this is just an unfortunate combination of bad timing, high maintenance costs, and then new ownership, which will most likely result in Kingda Ka's removal very soon, and a lot sooner than we would all like. Alright, so when will this coaster actually be closing? Is it going to be closing 2024, 25, 26? Well, obviously we don't have an official announcement from the park, and they're probably going to try to avoid making one as much as possible, but I think that Six Flags Great Adventure will keep Kingda Ka around for one more year, and have 2025 be its final season. I just don't think it makes sense to close it in 2024 with such short notice. And I really think if they give Kingda Ka just one more year and tell us pretty upfront, like, hey, this coaster's closing at the end of the year, I think they have a much better chance at avoiding a lot of negative publicity and making people a lot more happy. Because it just feels, I don't know, not great closing such an iconic and beloved roller coaster with such short notice, only providing like 2, 3, 4 weeks to even ride it. I feel like this coaster deserves more of a proper send-off. And you know, like every other person has said, if you have the opportunity to ride Kingda Ka, take it right now. It is still very uncertain if this coaster will even make it to 2025. So absolutely take the opportunity to ride this coaster as soon as possible. But I think realistically, we have a pretty good shot of getting one more year out of Kingda Ka. So let's just all keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best. And hey, we might get super extremely lucky that Kingda Ka actually is fine and will remain in operation for years to come. Again, these are all just rumors, nothing has been confirmed, and that's definitely still off the table. I just think that we should definitely be worried about the future of Kingda Ka. But hey, if we look at the bright side, we could probably get a really sick roller coaster out of this. Because, you know, sometimes you've got to look at the positives. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like down below, and if you want to stay up to date on all of the latest theme park news, rumors, speculation, etc., then make sure to subscribe down below. As always, thank you guys for watching, let's hope Kingda Ka doesn't close, and I'll see you all in the next one.